Hello, this is Gideon Emery, a.k.a. Balthier from Final Fantasy XII, telling you you're listening to the Raw Dogs podcast. And from this leading man, may you be the leading man in your own lives. Tune in, enjoy, farewell.
I would like you guys to at least play Pikmin 3. I can talk about the other Pikmins because they're impossible to get at this point. Emulation, maybe.
What is this emulation? I would never partake.
But
pizza?
I would actually say that the first Pikmin is extremely hard to play and maybe avoid it.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Raw Dogs.
Welcome back.
We're part of the Tokyo Beat Podcast Network. For more information, go look it up and check out the other shows. They're great. My name is Brad, and I'm excited to continue discussing some of the greatest gamers in history's Henk Rogers and Alexey Pajitnov. Who else is here today?
My name is Tyler, and I got big mustache energy.
You got good mustache
I got
energy.
big mustache energy. You quiet over there.
You got good mustache energy.
I got big mustache energy.
My name is Dylan, and I'm the line blocked sliding into your DMs.
Love it.
How am I supposed to sound cool with Dylan saying stuff like that?
He sets the bar too high.
He said, come on, man.
When he's not throat singing, he's coming up with good little one-liners.
I'm a mystery.
The research for this episode comes from the Tetris Effect book written by Dan Eckerman. Check it out. Great,
Dan.
Great fucking book. And made me get my library card renewed. It was so good.
I was just going to ask if
Why
you
don't
had a
you just buy
library
it?
card.
Because it wouldn't have arrived within like a week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I could have
Is that
probably
popular? Oh, with the movie coming out, I guess, maybe.
It was just Amazon. That was the way it worked out. And
I get all my manga from Amazon. Amazon, where the people are abused. And
But
Amazon.
At least I get to read Berserk.
we don't care if there's a storm.
I have every volume of Deluxe Berserk from Amazon.
You don't need both legs to work.
Cost me more than a PS5 altogether.
The library had a Bayonetta art book. I was pretty surprised.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
I
They
should
actually had a
buy
little video game section there, but
Yeah, rules.
as we left our story before, there was a confluence of many people heading to the USSR to figure out what the fuck was happening with rights. Because Robert Stein was selling rights he didn't have. He wanted to get a hold on home console rights, portable rights. Essentially, he wanted everything that he had already sold to many people.
Well, in his mind, and maybe his defense, he thinks everything's a computer. That man probably looked at his toaster and was like, that's a computer.
He knew what was going on. Dude.
Yeah.
He knew what the fuck was going on. And he knew when words were...
This computer makes toast crispy.
It's a computer.
I cannot do it.
If only the bread lines weren't so long, I
This
could actually put the bread
Look
in
at the
toaster.
microchips inside of this toaster.
My half slice of bread still gets toasty in toaster. Great computer. 10 out of 10.
Robert Stein is not Russian.
Yeah,
Now
true.
he is.
Now everyone is a Russian. But so we have Robert Stein heading there to hammer out what's actually happening with these rights. He needs to get contracts. He's been selling stuff to the Maxwells, who own Microsoft, and he's a giant dude. Think Rupert Murdoch. He
Really? Fox News level?
at the time,
Really?
big time. He owned many news outlets. He was a very big deal. I'm excited to tell you more about Maxwell at the end.
Did he help ferment a coup against the U.S. government?
You don't know.
That's great.
Yep. But they realize Stein seems really sketchy. We're going to send my son in there, Kevin Maxwell. He's going to go in there and get these rights himself. And meanwhile, Henk Rogers is going in for Nintendo because he thinks Tetris should be on the Game Boy, and it'll be the deal of a lifetime if he lands these rights.
He's right.
And he's right.
They're all invited, except for Henk Rogers, who is going in without the proper visa into the USSR to ask questions that could get him thrown in prison or worse. And the kind of policy, too, from Nintendo is we have a lot of plausible deniability. If this gets us in hot water,
We don't know who you are.
I love seeing the shady side of Nintendo.
yeah.
It makes me feel cool. Well, I mean, I like all of it. Like, it's just like, we just really love making games. Don't fuck with us.
This is our sex hotel.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
They still have sex hotels. They're called love hotels, Bradley.
Yeah, they got the heart-shaped hot tubs and the bed that spins with the mirror on the ceiling.
No, not really. They're actually, most of them are really dingy.
Oh,
I watched a YouTube video about sex hotels in Japan.
Well, you're not there to spend the night.
No.
You're there to spend it right.
Ayo.
You're there to bang your mistress, really, as it turns out. And so there's actually like a shady underground, like, oh, we'll keep your secret if you pay us more.
Not speaking of prostitution, they have to the least.
No, that wasn't prostitution. It's just extortion.
And that's much better.
Probably a little bit of blackmail in there at some point too.
Extortion is blackmail, and to a certain degree.
Yeah.
The destination.
Yeah, they're in the same family. That makes sense.
The destination for all of these parties is Nikolai Belikov, the thing-looking motherfucker who is in charge of negotiations for Alorg. He is going to be playing hardball. Also, he is a proponent of speak less, seem smarter, which I need to practice, which I don't, ever.
My tactic is talk a whole bunch, don't give a fuck.
That's pretty much what mine is too.
That's the best tactic.
But it's also like you can't lose.
Mine is lying to myself and say I'll fix it in post when I know I'm not going to go in and edit this episode.
That's fine.
I'm going to throw in some dope-ass Tetris music at the beginning and end, and y'all were going to fucking like
Hey,
it.
Liz,
That
listen.
music is catchy.
Honestly, I would love for someone to show up at my door, because at least I know my tax dollars are going somewhere.
February 21st. February 21st, 1989. Rogers flies to Moscow, speaks no Russian under false pretenses. Tourist visa. Bankrolled by powerful business interests who would abandon him if caught. He had to find a shadowy arm of the Soviet government and stay ahead of two powerful corporate entities, being Stein and Maxwell. Three Westerners competing to acquire important government-controlled technology in the USSR, Tetris.
I love it.
Finding Alexey. So he needs to find Alorg. He needs to find someone willing to talk. People are fucking scared. They don't want to talk about shadowy arms in their government.
Yeah, nobody is going to talk, and nobody is especially going to talk to a foreigner. Like, it's one thing to chit-chat in your living room with your brother or your wife or somebody.
How many of them actually know English? Because you've got to imagine that in order to keep that Iron Curtain going, they have to suppress multiple languages.
I mean, Alexey couldn't even speak English.
Hi, I'm not from around here. Where's the secret government shit?
Hi, my name's Greg. Ha! I'm looking for the nearest office where I can sell my video game.
You ever heard of Pokemon? So
I like Squirtle.
using his knowledge of Go, famously the first open world game, he thought finding a Go club might help. Because it was one of his only things he had that he could use was his knowledge of Go, and there was Go clubs that he might be able to make a friend.
Dude, that Go is such a big part of this story.
Dude, go to the dorks. The dorks are where it's at. Because then you've got an in. If you're cool with them and you know how to play their games, they're like, hey, man, you're welcome.
Yeah.
A day and a half later, he played the third strongest Go player in the Soviet Union. He lost, but everyone thought, like, you're so cool, man.
Yeah,
you
try.
came in talking big shit. And that's funny to us. We like you. And
On their fifth handle of vodka for the day.
he didn't get anywhere, though. He didn't find anything. He was able, though, to find an interpreter that he was able to pay.
That's nice.
And he was informed many times, the interpreter, you shouldn't go there. Do not go there. But there it is. And the interpreter's like, I'm not going to walk across the street with you, dude. That's fucking bad. You shouldn't go over there.
There's cameras.
So Henk Rogers walks into the building confidently, not really speaking Russian. And he goes up to the first person and says, I'd like to talk with somebody about Tetris. Big mustache energy.
Yeah.
And he got a meeting. The USSR was getting screwed out of money. Belikov knew Rogers. He was about to have these important meetings with Stein and Maxwell, and Belikov's like, there's a foreigner here who wants to discuss it. If nothing else, I can get more leverage to get more out of the other deals by saying there's another interested party. Belikov is a good negotiator despite not knowing what he's negotiating, which that's pretty cool. He messaged that we can
Sounds
have
like the Donald.
The Donald.
It's great you came to our country. We're going to talk later because I don't know who you are.
That's actually pretty good. Frank.
Yeah, that was spot on.
I like that. Listen, it's about developing lines, ladies and gentlemen.
It's business, okay? It's business. He has a Tetris. You have a Tetris. Who owns it? We don't know.
Definitely not.
Come back tomorrow. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I fucked many porn stars, but I'll tell you this much. When you get 4 lines and a tetramino, it's the best thing in the world.
He was said, come back the following day. Belikov wanted to get at least prepped to discuss with his foreigner. He gave a call to Alexey Pajitnov. Alexey is still being included in these discussions more as just like a, look how important we are, we have the guy.
Oh.
Alexey wasn't really involved in talking too much. He was just a nice guy who was there. But he was called to come in, and Nikolai Belikov just says, a stranger from Japan is here and he wants to discuss something about Tetris. So Rogers is led the next day into this auspicious room. The first time in all of Russia he saw something that looked like they had money to spend. The first room with a door, probably. Ooh, you have water? Like, this is pretty bougie. First time he saw any signs of money or excess, which he knows something, like it's a bigger place. It's an important place. The Russians all didn't say shit. They were just kind of sitting there quietly as he walked in. A pretty
Power move.
A pretty intense tactic.
Yeah.
You came here to talk to us. You fire the opening volley. And Rogers immediately recognized this as a cover for inexperience. They probably didn't know how to discuss video game rights.
They're probably old bureaucrats. That makes a lot of sense.
Who haven't had to navigate the minefields of
IP?
Licensing IP.
Yeah.
And they also didn't know to the extent of what was happening. So Rogers, wisely, he opened the talk with explaining how international software deals worked. He just starts off saying, all right, so if you license this to this person and then these rights will go there and you get this, he just painstakingly explains the nature of what they're about to talk. Belikov has no experience even with bank accounts and credit cards at this point. Belikov only deals with cash. Like I said, a good negotiator, but he is so outside of the realm of any of his understanding.
Where is ATM?
ATM? What is pizza?
What is pizza? I barely got bread.
Did you have pizza? I have no pizza.
As the witch, he spins the dough above the head.
What is this, Italian pie?
You're saying the plumbers are Italian, but they're from Japan? Chris Pratt would be perfect. And following this session, Rogers walked up and he shook Pajitnov's hand. He was most excited to meet Alexey Pajitnov. As a fellow game designer, he just like, super cool to meet you. I want to know more about you specifically. Belikov informed Rogers they would allow him to make a formal offer for Tetris rights the next day. And so Pajitnov and Rogers, despite barely speaking any common language, they decided to hang out that night. And Pajitnov became his unofficial tour guide. They went and partied at a few spots. They drank some vodka. He took him to his apartment, and they just awkwardly talked about video games, despite not having a lot of ways to talk. And
that's actually really cool.
Dude, they became best friends real quick. And Pajitnov said of meeting Henk Rogers, he offered me nothing and expected nothing in return. Like, it was not about business at all.
Yeah.
It was just like an enthusiastic, show me around, nice to meet you, your work is great. And yeah, they toasted with vodka in Pajitnov's apartment. All these people that are visiting Russia probably drank more vodka than they had drank in their entire life. And that, to think about, there's a lot of people that go there, like the Nintendo president of America has to spend a lot of time there, and they must have got so sick of vodka.
I get sick of vodka immediately.
Really?
I hate vodka.
You're not a fan?
No.
I like Bloody Marys.
I can do it on rocks. It's fine.
So the next day, he's going to make the formal offer for Tetris. He believes he is dazzling them with conversation, and he was, until he opened his briefcase and he showed them the Famicom version of Tetris, the home console version that he had acquired the rights and gotten Russian approval to sell in Japan. So he slides the Famicom copy over, and he could tell something went way wrong. Belikov's like, I don't know what this is. What is this? We didn't approve of this. We didn't decide. You don't have the rights to do this. All of a sudden, it seemed like there was some shitty piracy, something illegal happening, and Rogers read the room real quick. He's like, oh, shit. He tried to save it. Clearly, some agreements are wrong. We need to figure this out. And the more he talked, the Russians seemed to get angrier. And this is bad. But Belikov insisted Stein and Andromeda were the only ones who had the rights to sell anything with Tetris. And to try and explain, no, I got these rights from this company who were sold to that company, nothing made sense.
Horrible game of telephone. Yeah.
He was losing it. But Belikov could see Rogers was very surprised at this revelation. So Belikov sent for the contract with Stein and brought it in. Rogers looked over the contract and the wording for what Stein had their rights to sell, and it was specified only for computers and nothing on any other gaming platform. And at this point, Rogers like, holy shit.
Stein has fucked up.
Dude, Stein made a lot of a lot of promises, a lot of deals, and a lot of money has exchanged hands that he has no rights to. And Rogers also knew he was in trouble because they had made a bunch of money off of Tetris, and whether or not they thought they had the rights, that doesn't mean shit to the Russians or Belikov. So first thing he did was admit to selling a shit ton of illegally licensed products, and he did the math right there, and he hastily wrote a check to cover what would be their cut of the Famicom copies. $40,000 check, boom. Sorry, a mistake was made. That's just your money.
Fair enough.
We're not signing anything.
I mean, that's really your only play at that point, too. So, like, good on fucking him to even do that.
Yeah. Also, if you're, like, being threatened with prison or something.
I don't know if that threat might have even popped up right away, but, like, the court dealings in Russia are insane. I don't know if you watched... who's that famous serial killer?
John Wick.
Well, he is. He's
technically, yeah.
It's
from Russia.
Yeah.
The Bear, the Iceman, the Iceman,
the Iceman's
the
American.
Iceman.
The Iceman's American. It starts with a C. Chikatilo, Andre Chikatilo.
Okay.
Have you ever?
Is he the one that
watched
has a dollhouse?
No.
That person didn't kill people, but never mind. That's not the topic.
Okay.
Yeah, Belikov was taken aback at being offered money with no strings attached. Clearly, Rogers was like, "We're going to make it at right."
Well, he's saving his butt.
Before we go forward, we need to make sure our business is understood what is happening. We thought we had the rights. This money is for you. And Belikov realized, oh man, I have a whole bunch more to talk about with Stein and Maxwell when they get here next week. He has to just reformulate the entire plan. He thought they were going to renegotiate like a deal that was already made. He didn't realize that they were screwed out of so much and so many rights were being sold without their understanding.
And he put his ass on the line.
Rogers announced Nintendo would argue the rights and would have the money to back it up. If you sold Nintendo the rights, we will litigate and look at this contract and make it work. We have all of the money and power we need to get you out of this shitty deal with Stein. And Belikov told him to prepare for these meetings and return with an offer in 3 weeks from Nintendo. Now this is when Belikov goes to town on these fucking nerds. This is the Russian dude just cornering these guys with negotiations. It's really cool. So Robert Stein comes in. And this dude doesn't know that he's been had. He doesn't know, like, everyone knows about what he's been up to now. And the first thing that Belikov required Stein to do was amend the contract that they had signed. He said it was, we're not talking about anything other until we have the original contract amended. And it was designed to make it look like it was more about late penalty fees and getting back pay for what was not done correctly. But they also changed the wording for computer games. And the wording, what was it? the wording changed to the deal covered Tetris games on computers, but specifically changed to PC computers, which consist of a processor, monitor, disk drive, keyboard, and operating system instead of just computers.
Yeah.
That really solidifies it then.
See, the thing is, if Belikov admits like that they're aware of it, they might not get more things signed. Right. They want to get more things written down and people to agree like, all right, something was wrong. We want to still do business. So just meet us at this point and then we can keep moving forward. Stein took a day to read them over. He just wanted to get to the rights that he still needed because he already sold them. So he signed it. And this subtle language change blew up in Stein's face. And Kevin Maxwell, younger guy, he was in over his head here. He believed this was a masterful play. He was going to go in there and get Tetris away from Stein. Mm-hmm. Daddy will be proud. Belikov instead wanted to put Kevin in his place. He cut him off before he said anything. He just slid over the Famicom version of the game. And Maxwell tried to save face. He's like, I don't know what this is. It must be a pirated copy of the game. His bluff failed. And Belikov knew that Mirrorsoft was fucking around with the rights as well. And that these rights had made it over without getting approval for the copy from Russia. Belikov essentially was able to trick Kevin into admitting we weren't honest with you and things weren't getting done properly. Belikov had to be gracious with his foe as Robert Maxwell, big guy, was chummy with Gorbachev. So he still had to be gracious and polite and not a dickhead to him. So Maxwell kept pitching handheld rights, but the Russians grabbed the Famicom box and just walked out of the room, which is that's a scary move.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not a good sight.
Upon return, though, Belikov gave the terms. The Maxwells would be given a limited right of first refusal on new Tetris rights, but they would be expected to answer the offer incredibly quickly. Like you had a day to respond whether or not you wanted them when offered. And if he accepted that offer, that would cement that they didn't have the rights. So by agreeing, like you get offered, like you get the first rights to refuse this, that's them agreeing they don't have the rights yet. Masterful play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because just by agreeing to that, you have to admit, okay, we don't have them. I love it. Belikov brought Stein in, tricked him, and then he brings in Maxwell and does a swoop-de-doo, all while drunk off his ass on vodka.
Impressive.
Masterful move.
I mean, it also probably helps to have two guys standing behind you with guns the whole time.
It doesn't hurt.
Well, I know the Dylan character, so.
That's you? You're Belikov?
Maxwell.
Oh, you're Maxwell. Mm-hmm. You're not going to like who Maxwell turns out to be.
I know.
But meanwhile, Rogers and Pajitnov are becoming more best friends. They're just hanging out in hotel rooms. Rogers brings Pajitnov to his hotel.
They build bunk beds.
The hotels are really bad, too. The nice hotels, they have fake appliances that don't work. You can't get shit food. If you can get it into a restaurant, it is the worst food you've ever had. It's all bad. Hopefully you get a piece of toast.
Well, you can go to corner stores and shit, but
the options I don't think were very good there either.
Well, I mean, if you're already drunk on vodka, you might as well eat a baked potato.
I ate another cabbage today.
Welcome to the bodega. We have cabbage. We have potato.
We have two cabbage and 3 potato.
No banana for you.
No banana. Very hard to get this time of year.
Potassium, very difficult.
But Rogers showed him his portable television he had, which was impressive despite being useless in Russia because they don't have the signals. But this was to show him the Famicom. And so these two nerds sit up in a hotel room and they show each other their video games. And Pajitnov got to play Tetris on the Famicom, but he was PC Master Race and thought it sucked. He thought it was clunky and he didn't like using the control pad. But he was really nice and didn't say like, oh, I prefer PC.
Which now that's the preferred way of playing Tetris is with a D-pad and an A and B button.
My preferred way is the VR. The VR is the most responsive. The PS4 and 5 controller is much better than the Xbox for Tetris.
No, that's true.
The VR version is superior.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And there's actually less of a it's a minor amount of lag if you play it without VR. The VR version though is faster. I was watching a master talk about it, and I was like, I didn't know.
I think I'm gonna go home and play it.
The next day though,
Game Pass, it can't be.
Yeah, Tetris Effect Connected is, but the next day, Belikov informed Stein. Robert Stein came back after signing away the amended contract. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not giving you the handheld rights. We can renegotiate coin-op rights though." And Stein agreed to this. He thought he just needed to get more deals done to get further along. So Stein agreed for coin-op rights for the arcade, which he has already been using, and he agreed to retroactively pay for all the machines he had already sold. And Belikov told him, "You have 6 weeks to give me $150,000 that you owe us for the arcade." And at this point, Nintendo is regrouping, talking about what they're going to do with these rights. Howard Lincoln, Nintendo's attack dog lawyer, could believe everything Rogers had said, except about Tengen. Now, what do you know about Tengen, Dylan?
Tengen.
The knockoff Nintendo cartridges. Remember those black ones that look different?
Oh,
Do you know anything about those?
not quite, no.
So they're an Atari subsidiary. Lincoln fucking hates Atari. So they were planning on releasing Tetris for the Nintendo Entertainment System. The problem is Nakajima, the head of Atari, used to be a friend of Nintendo, but when Nintendo refused to offer them special deals for the NES lockout chips, you had to use NES cartridges with the lockout chips. Otherwise, your games didn't work on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Sure.
Common practice. He refused to offer a special deal for Atari, despite Atari being like, "We're going to sell so many games." It's like, sorry, it's just there's one price and we're not cutting you a deal.
Right.
So he had Atari find a way to reverse engineer the lockout chip so they could make their own games without Nintendo approving. Nintendo, naturally, fucking pissed. And reverse engineering did have legal precedent. So you can reverse engineer something and get away with using that technology. The problem is, however, that Atari went to the U.S. Patent Office and requested the secret patent documents. Even if they didn't use it to reverse engineer, those documents explaining how the lockout chip worked were under the same roof. So Atari looked really fucking sketchy. So Lincoln wanted to go to Russia that day and go for Tengen's throat. He wanted Atari to go down. I like Lincoln. He's got a lot of big energy, which I appreciate.
How's his mustache though?
No mustache.
So he's just got.
He didn't need one.
Yeah,
dude. If you have mustache energy without a mustache,
that's impressive. That's Clearly. Henry Cavill's Superman. He's got big mustache energy because it's there. You just can't see it
unintentionally. But Arakawa sent Rogers back with a Russian-speaking lawyer, not Lincoln, but I think his name was Hughes. So the deal is getting made. Belikov had to give Kevin Maxwell a day to respond to Nintendo's offer and try and counter offer, but they didn't respond in that day. So they did want, however, the president of Nintendo of America to come and sign the deal, make it extra official. So Howard Lincoln, and Minoru Arakawa, Yamauchi's son-in-law, and the head of Nintendo of America, they left in secret to go to Russia. They didn't want Atari to find out. They didn't want anyone to know they were going there.
Sure.
It would arouse suspicions. And they arrived, and Rogers is still just hanging out in Russia. At this point, this dude is drinking vodka with his Wheaties. Rogers is he knows how to rent cars. He knows how to get into restaurants, which sounds stupid, but it's a big deal there.
Yeah. He's come a long way.
Yeah, him and Pajitnov just playing video games. They're homies. He knows where the clubs are.
They do karate in the basement or garage or wherever the fuck the quote goes.
So something the movie has, which I don't know about, which looks like some exciting car chases or action scenes. And I have a feeling it's probably going to just be Pajitnov and Rogers trying to get away from secret police. There is some action in the trailer. I don't understand that they might be adding to just make it seem more intense.
I assume.
You don't need to have action for it to be espionage and thrilling. But
what if they just got drunk off their ass and we're running away from cops or something?
That sounds amazing.
Oh, you don't get pulled over for being drunk unless you're visibly drunk.
You're driving too good. You're suspicious.
Drink more vodka.
You're not even drunk. What is up with you? What is up with you, man? But yeah, so Rogers is a professional there. Arakawa, Howard Lincoln, Henk Rogers, and The other lawyer, I didn't put his name down. He didn't seem as important.
It's fine.
They met with Belikov and the Russians. Howard Lincoln was concerned until Belikov showed him how he trapped Stein with the amended contract. And Howard Lincoln must have gotten a law boner there. Just like, you fucking got him, dude. You changed the wording on PC games right under his nose. Lincoln was excited. Many conversations were had, including Howard Lincoln thinking that Pajitnov should receive a cut. He's like, he made the game. He should get something. And Belikov's like, no deal. Okay. That was out of the question. Pajitnov was forced to sign away his rights to the game for a 10-year span earlier, kind of coerced to. But Pajitnov is still not making a single dollar off of anything. Ironically, the handheld rights, which would become the most valuable, was what was handed over easiest to Henk Rogers. The Game Boy would end up selling around 120 million units, and about 40 million of those came packed with Tetris. Mm-hmm. Big money. Mm-hmm. So they were in Russia for a while. I just put down a few of their fun things that they did. They spent a lot of time with Pajitnov. Arakawa showed his children, Pajitnov's children, the Game Boy, making them some of the first people outside of Nintendo to play it.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah. That rules.
Lincoln and Arakawa were getting very fucking bored in Russia and eating shit food. And they're like, can we go to the Bolshoi, one of the only cultural things there? Rogers like, got you. Boom. Bolshoi tickets. Rogers became a major fucking dude over there. I'm curious. There's probably some really good stories, but he got him into the Bolshoi, and they don't speak Russian, really. So Rogers drops him off. He's like, I'll be out here when the show's done. Come here. And they were seated up in these really nice seats, and then they found out that Mikhail Gorbachev was sitting like right next to him, like at the row up or something.
Mold face himself.
Yeah. And they're like, we don't even know what this show is. What are we doing here? And like, they also knew that with Gorbachev there's no way Rogers would be able to pick him up outside. There's going to be a million cars and like secret agents and shit. And yeah. So as soon as the show was done, they ran outside, and at the front was Gorbachev's like limo, but right in front of it was Henk Rogers just sitting in his rental car.
That rules.
Dude, Rogers.
Probably
man.
some like fucking gremlin car, just like awful and shitty puttering.
Just drinking vodka out of a water bottle.
Honestly, it's fine.
One time, Howard Lincoln went on a fishing trip, which he thought was going to be a government fishing trip with Belikov. We're going to like a nice cabin. It'll be nice. It was horrible. It was the dirtiest fucking cabin. There were like bugs and shit everywhere. The food was bad. And he's like, we just went out on a boat with these Russian dudes who were all trashed, and no fish were biting. And I was like, how deep is the water? And he said people just walked by in the water next to him. And also, Nintendo was getting offers. The USSR was just in love with Nintendo at this point. And they showed him a mock-up of like a Russian space, like a spaceship, like a rocket with a Nintendo logo. And they're like, what do you think? And Lincoln's like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Is this impressive? Rockets are very cool.
Mario on the moon.
You heard of Sputnik?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Or the Boris fella?
This all kind of blows my mind, because when you zoom back down into like daily life, and like when you're young, you don't understand how the world works, but playing my Game Boy on the bus to school and trading it off with people, playing Tetris with so much of this bullshit behind it, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. I legitimately, like, I'm so surprised at this story, because I just keep thinking like, oh, I just like when the blocks line up.
Oh, it's just some Russian game about blocks.
Yeah, like all this went on behind the scenes. This helped me kill 6 hours on the trip up to my grandparents' house.
Exactly.
It is the first cultural export from the USSR in forever. It's some video game with the million shady business deals, and Nintendo is sending secret agents in to try and get rights to the Game Boy for a Game Boy game. It's so cool.
Who's going to play Miyamoto?
Miyamoto wasn't a big deal back then.
No, I know, but there's probably like a scene and he's working as like one of the male guys
or an intern or something.
Yeah, and they're like, "Here, Miyamoto."
So, no, in the back is like, no. The dude's name is Link. The lady's Zelda.
Yeah.
A real Bronx accent or something. After these deals happened, Robert and Kevin Maxwell immediately super pissed. And they have big money, they have big power, and they're buddies with Gorbachev. And Kevin almost immediately threatens, like, my dad is going to call his friend Gorbachev, and you're going to be in trouble.
Just wait till my dad hears about this.
I'm telling him. I'm going to tell
on you.
My dad's going to talk to your dad, and you're going to be in trouble.
My dad could beat your dad in a fight.
Problem is, Gorbachev was dealing with I'd take another beer as well, please, Dylan. Problem is, Gorbachev is dealing with a country that is spiraling out of control, and he's losing his ability to lead. And he's like, I get you're mad, but I can't deal with a fucking video game.
Yeah, that's one thing we haven't touched on either. Is this is coming in the death throes of the Soviet Union.
It really is.
Around all of this happening is the fall of the Soviet Union, which is like literally right around the corner.
It's a little hot in here. Mm-hmm. Just kidding. I left the fridge door open.
So, is Tetris responsible for the fall of the Soviet Union?
I think it can be implied.
Because if it's their only cultural export, how long did they exist? We said that in the last episode.
That was the first cultural export in a very long time. It was like 60, 70 or something like that.
Wait, didn't they start after World War II? When
the USSR was around before then.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But they hammered down.
Yeah, because they took Germany in World
Listen to my 4-part series about the Bolshevik Revolution in next episode.
You don't... I listened to it on Hardcore History with Dan Carlin.
Mm-hmm.
Very good podcast.
Yeah, Dan Carlin's a man.
Robert Stein was informed, oh yeah, those handheld rights, we sold them to someone else. You're not getting those. And Stein I don't think he was too bummed. He did okay. But Lincoln, though, they sent a cease and desist. Tengen filed a U.S. copyright application for the Tengen version of Tetris. They filed a preemptive lawsuit against Nintendo to establish their claim. Phil Adam, the president of Spectrum Holobyte, was sent to hand-deliver a royalty check for PC rights, which seemed to be out of their control at this point. And he was also sent to carry a letter from Robert Maxwell to Gorbachev personally. He wanted to try and get Gorbachev on their side. In a comedy of errors, though, Robert Maxwell was late for a plane and never signed the letter. I don't know a lot about what else all happened there, but...
He was late for what?
He didn't sign the letter that was supposed to get handed off to Gorbachev, so he didn't have a letter to give him. They had a plan that failed just because he was late for a plane or something.
What a dunce.
We're going to take a quick break to hear from another amazing show from the Tokyo Beat Podcast Network, and we'll be right back.
Spaceships,
magic swords,
intergalactic empires,
dead gods,
and creatures from beyond the moon.
What mad universe could contain all these fantastic visions?
What Mad Universe is a bi-weekly podcast
Delving into the misty origins of sci-fi and fantasy, pop culture and genre tropes.
Take a cosmic trip on What Mad Universe podcast, now on the Tokyo Beat Podcast Network.
Today's show is brought to you by EPOS Gaming Audio, with a comprehensive lineup of both wired and wireless headsets, gaming amplifiers, microphones, and webcams. EPOS has everything you need to experience the power of audio. Like their H6 Pro lineup, which features two versions, an open or closed headset. The closed headset allows you to tap into exceptionally detailed audio and seals out ambient noise, while the open version delivers natural high-fidelity audio with an incredible soundstage. Both headsets include a magnetic detachable microphone and a sleek design that has no wild RGB configurations, just good design. Listeners can save 15% by visiting www.eposaudio.com/gaming and entering code EPOSFRIEND15 at checkout. That is EPOSFRIEND15 at checkout. Hey everyone, and we're back. My voice is getting tired, but this is important.
Yes.
This is important because Howard Lincoln can't wait to just slap Atari in the face. He is he's prepping his lawsuit based on the definition of the computer because Stein did have the rights to sell computer games, but the amended contract has changed the terms. So as long as they can get a judge to understand the difference in the wording for the amended contract on what defines a PC, Nintendo will win. He also conducted interviews with all of the Russians involved. He had, like, Lincoln is just procedural. He's getting the case lined up. And per their agreement, the Russians were required to send anyone necessary to the court in America. So that was part of the agreement. Tengen was hoping to release their version onto the market before Nintendo to add legitimacy. So Ed Log designed the Tengen version of Tetris. He designed Asteroids, Centipede, Gauntlet, and by all accounts, the Tengen version of Tetris is very superior to the Nintendo Entertainment Center Nintendo version. Yeah, you actually want the Tengen one, but it's kind of rare. But it did get released, and he added that his version had the speed slowly ramp up instead of like just speed up. It was like constantly just like a slow crescendo, which was really great. Nakajima, head of Atari, ordered full-page ads, big parties. We have Tetris. We're the cool people. And May 12th, 1989, Tengen released their version of Tetris.
Jesus Christ.
They sold tens of thousands of copies in the first weeks. In June of 1989, the judge started hearing their arguments. Atari said, Alorg and the Soviet government were double dealing. We have the rights, and Soviets are trying to get money from more people. And the definition of a computer was a semantic loophole.
Yes.
And it's crazy because at this time, like, computers are not, you don't just own one. Like, I have 2 laptops. Like, you don't just have computers lying around your house. So to the average Joe who doesn't own a computer, ask them to define it.
One's for porn?
Exclusively. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm into some weird shit.
Only one?
I might got a couple 2-tree.
The documents, though, proved that Atari seemed wrong, and the judge did something not a lot of people expected and issued a preliminary injunction. Less than 4 weeks after their release,
Junction.
Tengen Tetris must cease.
No.
That's the first thing I thought about.
They injunction.
What's
bad?
your
Both
function?
of you bad. No.
No, that's Schoolhouse Rock, man.
Yes, I know what Schoolhouse Rock.
It taught me what a conjunction was.
Atari had
part of a
to
train.
Explain it.
It's part of a train.
Yes.
It goes. There's the part where you shovel the coal. There's the caboose. Everything in the middle is a conjunction.
Give me one conjunction.
One conjunction.
couldn't.
Can't. It's part of a train.
It's true.
Yeah.
So Atari had to immediately pull all of their Tetris copies off the shelves. They were not allowed to sell until a bigger decision was made. Mm-hmm. The fate of the unsold 268,000 cartridges they made remains unknown. It might be a landfill. We don't know what happened to all of these cartridges.
They buried them at sea.
Yeah, they're
Pushed them off a boat.
Yeah, with Robert Maxwell. Nintendo's Tetris was released and quickly sold 3 million copies. July 31st of 1989. But the Game Boy and Tetris released then. And yeah, and I mentioned the problem of when you sell a console with the perfect game, a lot of those people will not buy another game.
Yes.
Yep. I am just a man who wants to play Tetris on the train. I don't care about Mario Land.
Well, but that's also good for penetrating the market, no matter what, because the amount of people who will end up getting it and going like, I don't know, maybe I'll play Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade on the Game Boy, which I own, by the way. There's enough of a loss you can have from that, but to make that system seller with the system selling game, think Breath of the Wild. There are still people who just play that game on their Switch.
And with Tetris and the Game Boy, like, Pokemon's going to come out eventually, so you're fine.
8 years later.
Is it really 8 years?
1998 for us, yeah.
Holy fuck, I was in kindergarten.
I know.
Surprising
Yeah.
that you graduated kindergarten.
It took a couple 2-tree tries, but I got it done.
2-tree?
No, but Dylan's right. The Game Boy had incredible legs, and it had many new breaths of life from especially Pokemon.
Well, once you get the color involved, and then the advance, and then you get...
Well, no, we're talking OG. We're talking plain old
This bad boy right here.
Yeah.
So Belikov, the preliminary injunction happened, but they still had to finish the case. Belikov was permitted to leave the country to go to America, and he went into like a grocery store. He's like, look at all this cabbage. This shit's crazy, man.
Have you ever had cabbage stew? It's good.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying Belikov was blown away at what Americans had access to.
There's no bread line here. There's just a line of bread. It's a whole aisle.
He just walked right into Taco John's and ordered food. He didn't even wait, get a reservation.
So you can get a taco and you can get French fries. This is great.
I imagine him eating pizza and laughing. He's like, I get it.
The turtles, I know now.
Is Vanilla Ice here?
That Milli Vanilli is really good.
There's no way he's faking it. But to everyone's surprise, Judge Fern Smith issued a summary judgment before the trial even happened, said, no, this is very obvious. Atari has no claim. Nintendo has the rights to Tetris. Almost everybody made money on Tetris except Alexey Pajitnov.
Oh.
Which is criminal.
It would take 13 years after he made the game before he received $1.
And I'm assuming Hank had something to do with that.
That's why if you got something good, you keep it secret and you don't tell people
Keep
about
it secret, keep it safe.
Pretty much.
Give it to a short man. Tell him to throw it in the volcano.
You take this, you take it to a big mountain over there, and you throw it in lava.
So we're gonna now do the part of the show where it's just the picture of everyone's faces and it says what happened to them.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Are we going to put some nice 1980s montage music behind it?
Robert Stein, our favorite wheeler and dealer. He lost the PC rights to Tetris in 1990 because he didn't pay people.
What an idiot.
Due to non-payment. All in all, he estimates he made around $200,000 to $250,000 with everything.
Oh, that fucking sucks.
But
That's not good.
He made a lot of money though.
Yeah, for the time,
But how did he lose any of that in legal fees and back pay?
I don't know.
I'm assuming he probably didn't come out so clean.
Minoru Arakawa retired in 2002 after he realized he wouldn't be the president of Nintendo. His father-in-law wouldn't do that. He retired to Hawaii. Howard Lincoln, the lawyer, became chairman of Nintendo of America, but retired in 2000. He then became chairman and CEO of the Seattle Mariners.
No shit.
Yep. Which were owned by Yamauchi and Nintendo. And Yamauchi not once ever went to go see a game.
And that cuck, Doug Bowser, never went with it.
That cuck.
Did you call him Doug Bowser?
That's
That's the new.
president of Nintendo of America.
I thought you were talking about Bowser.
Yeah, that's the big joke.
It's either going to be that or Richard Wario.
Dick Wario?
Dick Wario, yeah. That's my attorney name.
Dick Wario, attorney at law.
Yeah.
Specialized in bird law.
Vladimir Pokilko, he was the clinical research engineer who was friends with Pajitnov. Him and Pajitnov eventually moved to America and became citizens. Pokilko, he sought the dot-com bubble in America but failed. He murdered his wife and son in Palo Alto before taking his own life.
Nice.
What?
I know, right? Crazy.
All right, so I did Google the
family
Tetris
annihilator.
effect before this, and when I typed in the Tetris, before I typed in the word effect, there was the Tetris murders. I wonder if that's about him.
Probably.
Might be more, too. Who knows?
I'm going to have to look into that.
Vadim Gerasimov, the 16-year-old who helped make Tetris. He earned a PhD, moved to Australia as an engineer for Google. Our friend Belikov, the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. Alorg became a private company, and everyone there scrambled to acquire whatever rights were lying around. Belikov acquired some of the rights to Tetris, and he sold his rights to the Tetris company in 2005 for $15 million. So what happened was, in 1995, Henk Rogers helped Pajitnov reclaim his rights to Tetris after the 10-year agreement. That's when they formed the Tetris company. So they were making a shit ton of Tetris. But they got the rights from Belikov in 2005. So Robert and Kevin Maxwell. November 5th, 1991, Robert Maxwell was sailing on his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, and I saw this name, Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's lady, is Robert Maxwell's daughter.
What?
Kevin Maxwell's sister. Yeah.
Dude, my mind is blown.
So yeah, when you ask, like, is he as big as like a Rupert Murdoch? Yeah, that's how big he was.
Yeah.
His daughter was in charge of a sex ring with Epstein.
Holy fuck.
That blew my mind when I read that part.
Don't you
Forget about me.
Epstein did not kill himself.
No, he did not.
Robert Maxwell was sailing on his yacht. His companies were more than $3 billion in debt. He was using employees' pensions to pay off this debt without anyone knowing yet.
You can't do that. Did you know that?
Rumors were spreading that he was a Mossad agent or a Russian agent, that he was orchestrating some real shady shit, and he couldn't stop these rumors. The crew were alarmed when he didn't respond. He completely disappeared from the boat. He was not on the boat. And
oh, this reminds me of all those nice Russian people who jump off of buildings all the time.
they just need more railings out there because people are falling.
Yeah, people are.
It seems like they need nets.
Yeah.
They are.
Nets are an important
They are
addition.
clumsy people.
No, I mean, if you're
if
drunk off your Gordon vodka and you just really want to see that bird hanging on the side of the fucking building and you look too far and suddenly you're just like, oh, my grip. And then you're gone.
Yet.
No. No.
Robert Maxwell, who was 300 pounds at the time, his body was found floating in the water a couple days later by another boat. They had to get a helicopter to lift him out. He was so heavy.
What? 300?
To lift him out of the water. That's what it said. They had a helicopter lift his body.
Was he goopy?
I don't know.
I mean, salt water does not preserve a body very
Yes,
well.
it does, actually.
His death was never solved. They think it was a heart attack and he fell off the boat, which I don't think sounds like a thing at all.
Well, for Tyler's sake, I could explain the laws of putrefaction, but
No. Kevin Maxwell was... They attempted to hold his son responsible, Kevin Maxwell, for the debt and stealing from employees' pensions, but he was acquitted. He filed for the largest personal bankruptcy in British history with debts of more than £400 million. And yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell, or Ghislaine, however you say it. Ghislaine, I want to say.
that's probably more correct.
Is Robert Maxwell's daughter.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Our boys, though. Henk Rogers made millions of dollars after the Tetris deal was signed. He helped Alexey emigrate to the U.S. as soon as he could after they got the rights, where the programmer set up shop in Seattle. Henk Rogers would move to Hawaii and hung out with Minoru Arakawa, who also retired in Hawaii. And he became, Arakawa would become president and CEO of Tetris Online, a sister company for the Tetris company. And Henk Rogers and Alexey Pajitnov, once they got the rights, they formed the Tetris company and became best friends, just selling Tetris and making money together. Good money. Because Alexey deserved it. You deserved it if you're listening, dude.
Yeah, man. I'd love to meet you.
I almost did. Henk Rogers founded the Blue Planet Alliance and Blue Planet Foundation with the goal of creating green energy technology. He is out there trying to stop fossil fuels from getting used in Hawaii.
Love it.
That sounds great.
Badass dude getting played by Taron Egerton. All of his pictures, he looks pretty happy. He looks like a cool guy. Still has that mustache, too. Alexey Pajitnov in 1991 became a U.S. citizen. He produced games actually for Spectrum Holobyte, who they screwed out of a deal, which is pretty cool. He worked as a programmer for Microsoft from 1996 to 2005. He made many versions of Tetris, but the game that I didn't know he made was Hexic, which I actually played quite a bit of on the Xbox Live Arcade. Yep, Hexic's a cool game. Still designs games. I put OG as fuck, and they recently, Pajitnov and Rogers issued a joint statement like, yo, Russia sucks, dude. Like, we stand with Ukraine. They just came out and they like...
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Very cool. Notable games, Tetris, Weltris, Faces, ... Tris 3, Hatris. Well, we can talk about them maybe in a Doggies After Dark sometime, but he contributed to the designs of Yoshi's Cookie, Pajitnov.
Played it. It's good.
Yep. And that's where all of our heroes wound up. I have a couple of weird little facts here.
And Dylan was 1 year old.
Tetris is the second best-selling video game franchise of all time behind Mario. Mario has 826.38 million units sold as a franchise.
Oh, Jesus.
But when you break it down, Super Mario, 385 million, Mario Kart, 173 million. It is under the umbrella, but
that barely counts because those are such different games. It's almost like Tetris should be the top.
But Tetris has 495 million, 425 million of those are mobile downloads. Still counts, but there is a asterisk for sure.
I have definitely downloaded Tetris on the majority of phones that I have owned since they were capable of playing Tetris.
You could play it on a 5th generation iPod.
With the dial?
With the dial, yeah.
Nah, that makes sense.
It's good.
I played it on a Zune, I think, once in high school.
I still have my Zune.
Zunes were cool.
They were not.
Pokemon is the third best-selling franchise of all time with 440 million. The mobile version of Tetris is the third best-selling video game of all time, just one game. The mobile version sold 100 million. The number one best-selling video game of all time is Minecraft.
Yes.
238 million. Number two is GTA 5. Number 4 is Wii Sports. And
Wii Sports, really?
It was a pack-in.
Yeah, I was going to say.
For the Wii's a big deal.
Damn.
The 16th best-selling video game of all time is the Game Boy version of Tetris, with 35 million units sold. It's available on over 65 platforms, and the rarest version is Tetris for the Sega Mega Drive, which currently sells for around $400.
Damn.
We have a little time to talk psychology. So, the Tetris effect. It's a term used in both medical and popular literature to describe the result of repetitive, pattern-based activity that eventually begins to shape the thoughts and imaginations of an individual. Mm-hmm. If you play enough Tetris, the patterns, the shapes start working their way into your head and affecting the way your brain is working. Yep. It's called the Tetris effect. Before Tetris, we might have called it hypnagogic imagery, literally a waking dream. I get these. I definitely get the Tetris effect after I play long enough. My brain constantly is just moving shapes in its head when I'm going to bed, especially when I play too much of Tetris effect. But what does this is that Tetris imprints itself as both procedural memory, which guides frequent repetition of action, and as spatial memory, which deals with our understanding of 2D and 3D shapes and how they interact.
Yeah.
For example, packing a car and noticing things slide together perfectly is a mild version of the Tetris effect.
When I worked at Southwest Airlines and I had to stack bags in the cargo hold, we just played Tetris. We would play Tetris in the break room on our phones and laptops and whatever, Game Boys, whatever you brought, but then actually doing it in real life, finding the bag that fits in the perfect spot, because you'd have like hundreds of bags that you have to cram into a very small space, so you have to use all of your space very efficiently.
Put this on the Discord, but my job is literally Tetris
/ Death Stranding.
Now I'll show you. You guys keep talking.
It is so satisfying.
Yeah, I used to pack groceries in high school, and that's very much like lining up the right things to fit in a bag, and it's very satisfying when it slides together nicely. Jeffrey Goldsmith was the one who coined the term Tetris effect in Wired magazine. He, the writer, had an extremely addicting experience when he first played the game in 1990 that blurred Tetris and reality together. After 6 weeks of intensely playing the game, he beat it. You can beat the game for the Game Boy 1. And he put the game down, and he said he never played it again. The spell was broken. But he wondered if it really wasn't some sort of electronic drug, like a pharmatronic or something. He received his first assignment from Wired magazine, and he was surprised sort of was to interview Alexey Pajitnov. And after the interview, he's like, it was actually really rather boring. It was just a nice guy who made something. He mustn't have known about all of the shit that was going down in the background. But so instead, he made the article in May of 1994, This Is Your Brain on Tetris, which Tetris effect became a term that is still used in books and in records, but also just as a psychological construct. One other psychological aspect is the cognitive vaccine. So the trauma film paradigm, shit's weird.
Trauma.
Professor Emily Holmes in 2010 conducted an experiment where they showed people 12 minutes of the most graphic, horrible death and mutilation footage possible. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, there'd be 30 minutes of time killing, long enough to where after that time period is when your brain starts making you see images and it starts processing the memory and like burning, like trauma would happen then is when images become solidified. So half of the people were then offered Tetris to play for the next like 20 minutes or whatever, and the other half weren't. And it was found that the people that were playing Tetris after having traumatic experiences, the images of what they saw were less written in their brain. They had less flashbacks of seeing these horrible things. They remembered what they saw, but they weren't like re-seeing people getting decapitated or whatever it was multiple times. And sure, maybe it was just the distraction of the first thing, but then they kept diaries over the next couple weeks, and it turned out people that were playing Tetris after seeing traumatic footage, the memories were coded differently, and it wasn't as traumatic for them. It was a way to like vaccinate, to hinder some of the PTSD that they might have experienced.
Well, that's actually what video game, like I got pretty brutally beaten in spring of 2010, and video games were a huge sell for that. It was like my agoraphobia, everything kind of transformed away from that the moment that I started like playing games again pretty hardcore. So I totally get what this is. It's like you simulate things in order for your mind to disassociate or associate. So like if I didn't want to go outside, it would literally be a video game where I was outside, and then you get used to the idea of that.
Tetris is pretty cool. Video games are pretty cool.
Video games rule. They're good for PTSD in general, from what I understand. So
unless you're playing 50 Cent Blood in the Sand and you're still traumatically...
Oh, you were in the Iraq War? Yeah.
Or you just didn't like 50 Cent's newest album, and then you had to play this game.
Yeah, that was me.
If you don't like his newest album, just put on his Bulletproof album, and then you're good. Go, go, shawty! It's your birthday. We're gonna play. That song's a banger.
And a 2014 study showed that playing Tetris reduces cravings in smokers and drinkers by around 24% as well.
Nice.
Yeah, Tetris. It's a cool fucking game. It's amazing the story behind it.
That is insane, and to a level that I had no clue.
I really like history. I really like podcasts. My favorite podcasts ever are about weird history, things that you would not even think were linked or related. So to learn that Tetris has such a rich history in espionage and breadlines and vodka is incredible.
The book is great because when the first chapter is actually, it starts off with Henk Rogers talking about how he's flying into Russia, and they don't say like who is paying for the trip, or they don't explain a lot of what's happening other than he was going in to try and acquire secret government technology from Russia called Tetris.
Shit.
And he was in danger. That's how they start the book. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Yeah.
Fuck, I love it.
I love Tetris. I became obsessed with the game myself with Tetris Effect. Because when someone said the killer app for a virtual reality headset was Tetris, I'm like, you are dumb, and I don't believe you.
Then you try it.
And I played it for 3 hours straight.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to go home and play it on my roommate's Oculus.
There you go.
Wherever you are right now, you probably have
access.
You have a few ways to play Tetris.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to play it.
I watched a YouTube video that was showing all the different versions, and like the Dreamcast one, like go boom, boom, big flashy things, and then as soon as the game starts, it's just Tetris. Like you can church it up as much as you want, but it's just Tetris.
It's one of those games that's near perfect. You can't really knock it. It's one of those games that can continue as long as you're good at it, which is also probably like the best way to make a video game. If you can keep playing it and you're fast enough, and if you ramp it up, some versions of Tetris don't ramp it up. But like if you can just keep going forever and ever, that is kind of what simulation theory is. It might be the first evidence that we're living in a simulation.
I love that the game evolves too. Like Pajitnov made it this way, And then it gets into Gerasimov's hand. He's like, well, we'll color code the blocks. And then it gets into America, and that's when they add the Russian folk music, which was not ever a part of the game, which that song is Tetris.
Yeah.
It was like a folk song or whatever before, but at this point, not a single person would hear it and just like not associate it with Tetris before anything else.
You couldn't.
No one's like, oh, that is my favorite folk song, Karobaniki. If you're out there, please stop fighting in Ukraine. But man, I love Tetris 99. I can't help but love the game. Yeah,
It's wonderful. If we had to rank it, it might be number one. Unfortunately,
you put Tetris above Bloodborne.
Bloodborne? Yeah, I would. Yeah,
I wouldn't put it above Bloodborne.
I would put it above Bloodborne.
Tetris is great.
Brad, you are tainted by First Love.
Well, but I also
you are tainted by First Love.
I wouldn't put Tetris above Disco Elysium. Tetris is great, but it is a specific game. Whereas I prefer a narrative.
That's fine, but from
it's a perfect game though.
From pure video game standpoint, you can't deny what it is. So I would put it. I'd put it at number one.
Well, we're gonna do a ranking here. We're gonna add it to our official ranking.
Okay.
So if people don't know, this is where we have ranked all of the games that we have discussed and played. At least
I'm not even good at this game, and I still would.
Yeah, my brother whoops my ass in it all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, game ranking. So we're going to start with, we can't go right to the top. It's got to work its way up.
I know.
Tetris or Resident Evil 7?
Tetris.
Resident Evil 7.
Tetris. Okay. Tetris or Mega Man X?
Tetris.
I haven't played Mega Man.
Tetris. Tetris or Final Fantasy VIII?
Tetris.
I'd go Final Fantasy VIII.
Really?
That's a rock, paper, scissors between you guys.
So we go 1, 2, 3, and then you call what it is.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, scissors.
I did rock. I'm sorry, I didn't say it.
But okay, so Tetris or Resident Evil Village?
Tetris.
Resident Evil
Village.
Okay.
Tetris or Portal 2?
Tetris.
Portal 2.
I'd go Tetris. Okay, so that puts Tetris as our 12th game.
Ooh.
And we're talking about Tetris for the Game Boy, like the original Tetris.
No, I understand.
Although they're all Tetris.
They're all original.
All right.
I love that ranking.
Do y'all have anything else that you wanted to talk about Tetris? We didn't talk about the various sequels and oddities, because there is a lot, but...
I'm more of a Luminous guy. Just kidding. No, it's Tetris.
No, I'm good. Tetris on the VR is probably my favorite VR game of all time. So
I
far.
will say that when I first plugged in and Brad lent me was PSVR and I played Tetris Effect, it was so distracting. I could not get into it because I was too busy looking at everything else.
I took an edible and then put it on, and then I disappeared from reality for about 5 hours.
I'm done. No, that wouldn't work for me.
It was mesmerizing.
So have you not seen the Tetris trailer?
I have not.
Have you seen it?
I was going to watch it as soon as we were done.
We can watch it right now so we can get a live reaction for you.
It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I played for 5 minutes.
That's Henk
Still
Rogers.
see falling blocks in my dreams. It's poetry, art, and math all working in magical synchronicity. It's the perfect game. Tetris?
Tetris.
Tetris. Tetris.
Tetris. I don't get it.
It's a combination of tetra, Greek for 4, and tennis.
Tennis.
The Russian inventor, he likes tennis. Hazel, yeah.
This game isn't just addictive. It stays with you. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Hank, only 10 other people in the world have seen what you're about to see. It's called the Game Boy.
Package them with Tetris.
Can you get us the rights?
The Soviet Union had worldwide rights. Nothing gets out easily. I'm gonna go to Moscow.
You're walking into a country that still considers America enemy numero uno.
Okie dokie.
Sure you don't have to talk to your wife about this first?
Pioneers have to bet the house to win.
But not literally.
Listen. Have you ever heard our apartment this quiet before?
This is the inventor of Tetris.
Your game is brilliant. I'm gonna make you a millionaire.
Mr. Rogers, have you ever negotiated with the Soviets?
We're here for Tetris.
We все здесь только ради денег.
What do you say? I don't speak Russian.
The most powerful man in Communist Party is watching you and your family.
Do you know where your husband is?
What the hell is going on?
The world is changing, and Soviet Union will not be left behind.
You want to play with the big boys? This is how the world works.
Where is my money?
This is insane.
We can't protect you.
Sometimes you gotta forget the rules.
Taron Egerton is very talented.
Go, 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 go!
This is criminal. The Soviet Union is about to implode. They're lying. Everybody's lying.
Go home! The cavalry is coming.
We don't have time.
I have a plan.
Oh, come on. You guys are the kings of cliffhangers.
That looks fucking awesome.
Yamauchi.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Rated R. I like that.
We'll be watching.
That is going to be real good.
This has been Hair the Dogcast. We exist because of people like you. Thanks for listening. Write reviews if you can.
Only 5 stars, though. I don't want to see any 4s. I don't want to see any 3s. God forbid a 1.
That's a very good point, Tyler.
Yes, only 5s.
I'll agree.
Yeah.
I think it's funny to see other ones, but don't do that for me.
And if you want to...
If you're going to write a bad review, at least put the 5 stars and then write a bad review. So
and then tell us which of the people on the podcast is your least favorite.
Yes. And
I don't want to know that it's me.
I'm happy with it being me. Dude, I'm pretty hardcore. I'm like the Joker.
Dude, I'm just like a borscht, but you're the flavor, you know? And Tyler, you're the bowl.
I'm the cabbage.
You're the vessel.
I'm the cabbage.
You're the cabbage in our stew, dude.
that's important.
If you want to join our Discord to discuss cabbages with us, go to patreon.com/hairthedogcast. For as low as $3, you get access to episodes way early. $5 gets you access to bonus episodes, a lot of bonus episodes. And $10, you get Doggies After Dark, which is even more irreverent and less edited. Unedited, actually.
Unhinged.
Special thanks to executive producers Brian Ward, Ryan Christianick, Kip Kipper, Phil Wright, and Jordan Hoff. We appreciate your continued support, and we're part of the Tokyo Beat Podcast Network, so check out all those other amazing shows. And I'm excited to watch it. The movie looks really good. And I looked at the casting, and it's solid.
It looks solid.
The weirdest thing, though, to me was when I realized Robert Maxwell was Ghislaine Maxwell's father, and he died by disappearing from a boat.
It's kind of like their family's thing, though.
Yeah.
It's kind of what they do.
It's kind of what they do.
This has been Raw Dogs. Dylan, take us out with one of your beautiful Dylan-y doos. If you can. I don't want you to...
The final countdown?
Is the final countdown.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
I didn't get the tone right.